Hello and welcome to another episode of the Akiona Law podcast, wherein we talk about anything and everything that intersects in the world of family law and divorce. And today I have with me, I'm thrilled to welcome Mark Martinez. Mark is a Marine Corps veteran and the founder of Red 3 CPA and Forensic Accounting. Mark is armed with a sharp eye for financial discrepancies, and he has a background in finances, economics, and accounting. Mark specializes in giving businesses, individuals, and legal professionals the tools they need to prepare for the future. Mark is a certified public accountant in Washington. He's a certified forensic accountant, and he's a registered forensic investigator with the American Board of Forensic Accounting. Welcome to the Akiona Law podcast, Mark.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here. I appreciate the invite and the opportunity to have this good conversation.
Yeah, and I'm excited to have Mark here because I was at a continuing legal education lunch thing where Mark gave a presentation and it was about forensic accounting. And it's something that comes up a lot. And that's why I'm excited to have you on here, Mark, because what it is that people always have this concern with, I think my spouse is hiding money. What do I do? So let's just get into it. Mark, what is a forensic accountant?
Yeah, so forensic is just kind of a fancy word for suitable in court, right? As a CPA and a forensic accountant, dig into the financials, specifically the financials, right? And see where the money went, where if it's being hidden somewhere, if there's unreported revenue in a company, that sort of thing. So I dig in and find the details that essentially people are trying to hide, and then would prepare a report that would be suitable for court. And I'm able to testify. I'm an expert witness, and really kind of just supporting what the client is the client side. But specifically, like, I'm finding what the truth is, right? Finding the truth behind the numbers is
Mhm.
really what I try and do.
Finding the truth behind the numbers. I love that.
Yeah, you let the numbers tell the story as a good line, standard line in accounting, right? Because you have hopes and dreams and plans and all those things that you want to do either with your business or with your savings. You're trying to plan for your kids' college fund, but when it comes down to it, it's like your actions speak louder than your words. The financials and the numbers speak louder than your words as well sometimes.
Mark, you have a really interesting background because you're a Marine Corps veteran. So
Yep.
how did you get into the world of forensic accounting?
Good question. Yeah, no, I had two combat deployments in Iraq. I was a
Wow.
M1A1 tanker, right there. There's my tank.
Yeah.
And I oftentimes had my guys who we're in 29 Palms in the middle of the desert. There's not a whole lot to do. So after a year, I had two guys who had $10,000 in a checking account. I'm like,
Hmm.
guys, you got to do something with that, right? Put it in a 401k, open up a Roth, put it in a money market, a high yield money market account. And they're like, I don't even know what that is. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So try and work with the guys to show them, what a Vanguard account is and that sort of thing. All the time, like, I was learning myself because at the time I was enlisted, I didn't have a degree in accounting.
Hmm.
And then when I got out of the Marines, I looked around and people I knew, people in my family, who otherwise did well for themselves. And I had an uncle who was the treasurer for Mobil Oil overseas. And
Wow.
he did pretty well for himself. And I just thought I'll just go do what he does. And he did finance, right? So his degree was in finance. So I started at Bellevue College. It was Bellevue Community College back then, and then transferred to Seattle U to got my degree in accounting. Worked for a Big Four, KPMG. I did public, some small private companies, small CPAs, 1-2 member CPAs. And I'll be honest with you, I learned a lot doing small business finances.
Yeah.
And it was, it's Mike's tools and trucks, right? And the difference of $500 means that he's not getting a paycheck that week, right? Because
Yeah.
it's his business.
Yeah.
And it's these people, it's like these people's baby, and they really close to it. And so, learn a lot of good bedside manner. And you a couple of times I had to tell a client, okay, you've got $10,000 worth of checks to write, and you've got $8,000 in the bank. So mail these ones now, and then when you make some deposits, mail these ones. They're due in 15 days, so you have time. And just helping people manage their business like that, to the point where, okay, I had three businesses that grew to the point where they, instead of hiring me as a consultant, they hired a
Mhm.
full-time bookkeeper, right? So
Oh,
helping people grow their business like that. And that was, honestly, that was pretty amazing.
yeah, that's
Uh,
exciting.
yeah, and then most recently I was a corporate controller for, $100 million companies. And had a lawyer friend who said, "Hey, I need CPA work. There's not enough CPAs who are supporting family law and law in general. And if you want some work, I have work for you." So, um, renovated this room, painted the walls, and got some decorations, and got a couple of additional certifications. I've been a CPA for
Okay.
years. So got some additional certifications, and now, yeah, so it's been a good journey from the beginning to where I am now, being a Marine, telling people
Yeah.
having money in a checking account is not, you're not letting your money work for you, to now trying to find all the money in all of the checking accounts. So,
That's neat. And I must say that I love the paint color that you picked. It looks like a
yeah,
gray blue.
yeah, it's right. I wanted to make it lively and everything, so I don't want to, but not like a plain white,
Yeah.
office. So yeah,
But you did a good job.
thank you, appreciate it.
So we're talking about now you're looking at people's checking accounts to see, where's the money going? So that brings me to my next question.
Sure.
When should someone hire a forensic accountant?
Yeah. So really, the question comes down to, you're separating, or you think that sibling A, who is mom's trustee, is spending mom's money inappropriately. You're a business owner, and your senior person, or your other partner, is not you think they're not telling the truth. Well, that's where someone like me comes in place, right? So I review financial statements, I review bank statements, and it's really to come down to, like, really, like I said, you let the numbers tell the story, right? Where did the money go? If you're getting a divorce, you have to do things, your financial declaration, and how do you split money, and how much income are you really making, that sort of thing. And so it comes down to you and your ex spouse, soon to be ex spouse, how much are you really making? So it comes down to finding what the truth that can be presented in court really is.
Yeah, because I like what you said in a way, because numbers don't lie.
Right. Yeah. If someone is claiming that they only make $60,000, but they, drive a Mercedes and live in Bellevue, I mean, that could happen, but probably not. Right. So you do a lifestyle analysis and say, well, where is all their money coming from, and how are they supporting this really nice neighborhood with, high tax rates and a super nice car and that sort of thing. So you do the analysis and say, well, they said this, but the evidence shows this other thing.
Well, Mark, what's a lifestyle analysis?
Yeah, so a lifestyle analysis is, you go in and start with the spending, right? Well, what are the outputs? Right? The income is separate. Okay, so you have a mortgage, you're sending your kid to a private school, you have a really nice car, and you go on, $20,000 vacations.
Okay.
So those are uses of funds that you need to support. And
Yeah.
the uses of funds are higher than what's being reported as income, you have a disparity there. And so if someone's saying, like I said, you only make $60,000, but you've got $100,000 worth of expenses a year, including savings and all of these other things, you got to go and find where the other part of the money is coming from. So a good example would be you're a business owner and like I said, you're going on $20,000 trips, but you represent that as a business expense. So the business is technically paying for it, but it is money available for the household that would otherwise be household income. And a lot of people try and push their, trips to Vegas, 2-week trip to Vegas or to Hawaii or whatever, and they spend one day in a seminar and
Yeah.
expense the whole thing. IRS doesn't allow you to do that. If you're going to go for 2 weeks and go through one seminar, you only get to claim one day, right? So
Yeah.
the $20,000 becomes 1,000 really quickly, and
Wow.
that difference, that is what would be attributable to household income.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
for both parties, right? So
Okay.
it gets
So,
it gets tricky. There's so much. It's easy to it's the way a person can hide income
okay.
is only limited by the imagination,
Ah, I see.
right? So you really have to go and look and see what the details are.
So just in terms of so that lifestyle analysis then helps is part of the part and parcel of the forensic accounting to determine what the income is available and where is it going.
Right. If you have two people, again, my wife has been a stay-at-home mom ever since we got married, right? And say that's the situation of a couple, another situation of a couple getting divorced,
Yeah.
and they are going to Hawaii, two
Yeah.
times a year, and they both drive really nice cars. And then all of a sudden things don't work out and they got to split up. And one person, the husband is saying, hey, I only make 100 grand a year, but they had $200,000 worth of expenses, right?
Yeah.
So it's and that goes to the fact, like, how much child support is there going to be, and how much spousal support, if any, there's going to be, based off of the facts and circumstances for that case. So you'd certainly, the difference between 100 and $200,000 is significant when you start talking about things like child support and spousal support.
Hmm. Yeah, I had a case where that my client was a business owner. The wife was a stay-at-home mom. She maybe worked part-time jobs here and there. And so the her attorney was like, "Your client makes a lot of money. He's making a lot of money. He can pay this much." But when it came to, because they do this and they do this, but when it came down to it, what happened was my client was not paying his business taxes. So
Yeah,
so
I
now
I
there's yeah. So
yeah,
there's this huge tax debt. And it's like, no, he doesn't have, instead of paying his business taxes, he was diverting the monies to the family so they could go on these vacations.
right. Well, so then that is a separate issue when somebody isn't paying their taxes and it's a business, specifically if it's a family business, the IRS kind of doesn't really care. They just want their money, right?
Yeah.
So that is when those sort of things, excuse me, can be, how should I say this right nicely? Tactics in your case, because if it turns out that the person isn't paying taxes, um, do you, like, I have had that and I have counseled a client, hey, I know what you want. This is what the situation is. If you bring these things forward, you, my client, will be liable for these taxes. So
Yeah.
how do you want to handle that? Do you want to
Yeah.
say, hey, we have found this is the situation, and there is, I'll make up a number, $60,000 in back taxes over the next 3 years. Do you want to bring that into evidence and part of the mediation and potentially into court, where now it is, you're testifying under oath that you know that you did this, or do you want to settle outside? And as the CPA, I got to tell you, you need to pay your taxes appropriately, right? But
Right.
and I don't have client. That's a good point, a specific point. I don't have client privileges. I'm not a lawyer. CPAs don't have privilege like that. So that's
Mhm.
why typically I'm always engaged to work directly for the lawyer, and so my work becomes lawyer work product, which is privilege.
Yeah.
So so yeah, that's kind of an aside. Well, actually, an important aside, but um, the issue is if there's issues like that, they come to light very, very quickly. I mean, the details in a tax return. I, I'm actually surprised. It was funny. I'm in a tax group where we meet once a month. I'm surprised how many bookkeepers just let the client do whatever and don't
Yeah.
ask questions and just like, of course all of these Venmo payments are business expenses when it turns out they're all childcare or food and stuff like that, which is generally not a business expense. So
That is true. You cannot run childcare expenses through the business. I've seen it
right.
happen before.
Yep, yep. I had a client whose spouse was um, working less. That she was, I don't know why she was working less, but she was working less, and she wanted to adjust. And the ex-husband was working more, and she wanted to adjust
Mhm.
child care payments. I see her tax return, and there's child care in her business that's decreasing her business income. And she sold her car and
Yeah.
claimed a business loss on this car that was
Uh,
gifted to her. I'm like, these like those are not business expenses. And so I um for someone like me who really wants to be in integrity, be integrity, right? So
uh,
it's right because it's right, and it's not right because it's not right. And to see all of these people in my profession that like, okay, I'm a CPA, not a bookkeeper.
okay.
It's a distinction. But to see the bookkeepers like let run stuff through like that and then it ends up on a tax return, it's just a little frustrating for me.
Hmm. Okay. Got it.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
just a personal thing because you really, when you're going to testify in court
Y- y-
to this
uh-huh.
issue,
Right.
like your word and your reputation is on the line.
It
One of
is.
the reasons I'm no longer a corporate controller is I told my boss, I'm like, hey, if we run the website like this, we're gonna run into these three issues, and we're
Okay.
gonna potentially have to file income tax in every state that we sell to. And he was like, Mark, who's gonna know? I'm like, that is the wrong answer. You have to do things the right way. So that brings me full circle because when your soon to be ex-spouse or your mom's trustee is using money for their own benefit that is not their money, or they're hiding money in a divorce, that's where guys like me come in, people
Yeah.
like me come in to find those issues. I'm like, yeah, you renovated your house and you put all of the $150,000 as a business expense, and that's why you're showing $60,000 worth of income, because you had
Yeah.
$150,000 expenses that were personal expenses to renovate your house that
Wow.
you threw through your business.
That you
So
ran it through the business. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, it's amazing the it's only limited by somebody's imagination. Yeah.
Yeah, the creativity. Well, and and so that's why you need to have integrity, because that leads me to my next question. And you mentioned it, like you're going to have to testify in court. So what
Right.
makes a good expert witness?
Yeah, so really from the accounting side, there okay, funny little anecdote.
Okay.
There's this T-shirt that I got when I was a brand new CPA at the public firm, and it's silly. Honestly, it's silly. It said, "Accountant, a person who fixes a problem you didn't know you had in a way you don't understand." Right? So accounting is complicated. And unless you kind of understand the very basics, it's super easy to get lost. So
Yeah.
a good expert witness is is kind of an educator and
Okay.
can turn something complex like double entry bookkeeping into, which sounds weird. Why would you enter something twice? But
Yeah.
that's the standard of bookkeeping, right?
Why?
Well, because okay, here's a
Okay.
very easy example. You start a business,
Okay.
right? You put $50,000 in cash into your business. Okay, so now you have a bank account with $50,000, but you're the owner and you own a $50,000 business. So there's double entry right there. You
Oh,
have
okay.
you have cash and you have equity, right?
Okay.
Your equity is $50,000 in the business, but you have
Okay.
cash. Now you're going to go and you're going to buy a truck. You're going to spend $10,000 and buy a used truck for, or say you're landscaping. I don't know. Say whatever your business. You're going to buy a truck. So now you have $40,000 and a $10,000 truck. Okay,
Okay.
$40,000 and $10,000
Right.
truck. You still have $50,000 in equity,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So the further on down the trail you go from that, it it gets, unless you know that how that works, it gets really messy. And especially when you're talking about, mom gave me the $50,000 and brother saying, you're just wasting all of mom's money. It's like, no, well, I have this truck and now I have some cash. I'm gonna go buy some inventory and go buy $20,000 of inventory. And now you have a $10,000 truck, $20,000 of inventory, and $20,000 in cash. And like, you're just wasting all mom's money. Well, then you sell that, right? And
Okay.
it gets complicated very quickly. And so being able to make that understandable in court, um, to generally the layperson, right?
Right.
Um, it is a big part of being a good expert witness.
Okay.
Does that help? Is that right? Does that sound good?
That no, that does sound good. It's just kind of because what it is, I mean, you want to be able to have your expert witness explain things so the judge understands.
Right. Yeah, the judge, that's a good point. I haven't had too many cases that have gone to a jury. I don't think too many divorce cases do. But
Yeah,
yeah,
no.
and it's like, it's like people specialize, right?
Yeah.
You're a you're a family attorney versus a tax attorney versus a criminal defense attorney versus a prosecutor. Well, I am not going to presume that I know the law as much as an attorney does.
Hmm.
And accounting is very similar to the law, right? You have tax accountants, you have bookkeepers, you have auditors, you have internal audit, you have financial accounting,
Yeah.
and then forensics. So you really need to be able to explain how things work in accounting, um, as an expert witness. So being a good, uh, kind of a having a teacher mindset is super important.
Yeah.
And the other big one is being being a puzzle solver, right? So again, like I said, it's the other person's imagination is what you're up against. And if you have a inkling that something is going wrong, you got to go in and dig and find where it's going. Um, I've had a situation, so I have a software that can take your bank statement and just turn it into Excel file, right? It's pretty cool.
Okay.
And so
Wow.
I can see that you've made transfers to these three bank accounts,
Yeah.
right? So one
Okay.
is your personal savings, one is your personal checking, and one
Okay.
is some other bank account that I don't have access to.
Oh,
So if that's the one that, that relatively, relatively small dollar amounts of money are going into, say like $1,200 a month, but over 5 years,
wow.
then now that's somebody could be potentially hiding money,
Hmm.
right? So my software can help me find those things, And it's the point where, okay, I need to pull on this string here and pull a little bit more. And well, it turns out it's a, I don't know, a retirement account. Okay, that's probably fine.
Okay.
But from the retirement account, they're
Yes.
taking draws on it, um,
Uh-huh.
and they have some side hustle going on that spouse doesn't know about,
Ah,
right? So now we
yeah.
have hidden money and hidden assets, and so it's just, again, pulling on the string to try and find the puzzle. You know
Yeah.
you have we'll just say $100,000 coming in to the household because W-2 income says hundred
Okay.
thousand dollars. Uh,
Yeah.
and you only have 80,000 going out, and you're accounting for all the things. You're accounting for their savings, for mortgage and all these things. Where's the other 20 grand going? Well, that's where I come in to try and find what's going on with that money. Is there a secret stash of money somewhere? Are you sending money to, mom who lives in Venezuela, or
Or your girlfriend in the
to
Philippines.
her girlfriend in the Philippines? Yes, exactly. Yeah. Right. That's where that
Oh,
$30,000
yeah.
in travel to the Philippines
Yeah.
once a year for a business expense. Right. So exactly. And I've had those. Like I've
Oh,
had to tell a couple of people,
yeah.
hey, I think you're being scammed by a person in Guatemala or Costa Rica
Right.
or the Philippines or whatever. It's like, but no, 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 she loves me. I'm like, she's scamming you. I'm sorry, she's scamming you. And
Yeah.
you can tell a person that, and they can believe you, or they can not believe you.
Yeah.
Sometimes their heart takes over, and they want to believe something that may or may not be the case. So.
So have you had cases though where you've had people say, "Hey, Mark, I know this is hiding, this person is hiding money." And when you dig through the records, you're like, no, because this is where the money, there's no hiding money.
Yeah, I actually have had that. And that's the hard part, is telling the client that, what you think is true actually isn't true. I've had a situation where mom passed away and put everything into a trust and
Okay.
said the trust pays out whenever the oldest or the youngest child reaches a certain age.
Okay.
Right, and then mom passes away, and then one of the siblings pass away, and so now it would get split less ways, right? So it's more money.
Right.
But everybody is under the understanding that mom had um a life insurance policy on everybody, and when
Okay.
sibling number X passed away, that insurance policy would have gone to the trust, and so everybody would have gotten an additional, $100,000 because of the amount of the insurance. And then when the youngest person hits that age and they decide to pay out, they're like, "Where's the rest of this money?" Right? Well,
Right.
it turns out there was no insurance policy, and
Oh,
there was the 401k that mom and dad had. There was the value of the house that was sold and put into the 401k. And mom wanted 10,000 to go into a certain trust account to take care of the dog that she loved dearly, which is a thing. um and so now this is what's left over, and there wasn't, what you thought
yeah.
was there wasn't there.
Wow.
Also had the other side happen where people didn't know that uh, sibling B didn't know that mom had a $500,000 life insurance policy. Sibling A knew, and they were fighting over it. Right. Once
Yeah.
sibling B learned through, the breeze, the word through the breeze, that mom had this insurance policy, then it's like, okay, well, go hire a CPA to go figure out, a forensic accountant to go figure out where that money went. So I've had both sides. Yeah.
Have you had the situation where you had to help someone when they didn't know what to do because their spouse controlled all the money and so they don't even know what's in like the savings?
Yeah, yeah. I'm actually working a case like that right now.
Okay.
And I work with I guess the best way to describe her is a kind of a life coach for a
Okay.
person going through divorce. And she's very good on this side. She's giving me some tips too. I always try and learn things as much as I can as they come up. But yeah, so when it comes down to financial manipulation, where spouse A is like, I've got financials, you don't need to worry about it. You know, you can
Yeah.
spend $3,000 a month on your card and and I'll take care of the rest, right? And then it gets into, I have to say, I need to go through the lawyer and say, well, I need bank statements, credit card statements, and all of these things. And you've got to go subpoena those things so we can figure out the details. So that's the hard part. I,
Yeah.
I can't just go and say, give me this. I need to work through the lawyer to get that information. And a lot of times it's a lot of tricky information. Small business owners use QuickBooks. So I want a backup copy of their QuickBooks because if I
Okay.
have a backup copy, I can just load it onto my side. It doesn't affect their side at all. But I can see everything, right? I can see where all the money goes in and out. I want to see bank statements. Bank statements are like, cash is king, right?
Yeah. Right.
So need those bank statements. And then investments. Investments is a big one, especially if you have people who are living off trusts.
Okay.
I need those trust statements to see what's coming in and out. And in situations where they both have trusts, but they're really only living off of one, now they're commingling trusts, and 10 years later they want to get divorced. And okay, well now since they were commingling trusts, the growth of each of those trusts are shared assets now. So
And then I assume you need the standard too, right? Like pay stubs, W-2s, tax returns, schedules.
yeah, tax returns are good, but they're good for things like finding out where people are hiding stuff. Like I
Okay.
mentioned before, you had the
Yeah.
client who's was expensing childcare through their business, right?
Yeah.
So I want the tax returns to see that. I want their, like I said, their QuickBooks, and all of that, any business detail, um, investment investments. I want to see their investment schedules, their statements. Um, if we're talking about physical assets, we need to list all that stuff out: the truck, the car, the timeshare,
Okay.
if they own. There's a pro. When I was going through school, there was this problem in my tax class that always got me hung up, and it had to do with a horse, right?
Okay.
So you are given part ownership of this horse, and then the horse becomes this prize winning horse and is now
Yeah.
worth like $1 million. But when you were granted ownership of it, it was only worth $50,000. So now, how much do you get out of that, right? So I say that because one of the biggest fraud cases in the United States involved this controller for a city in Illinois, and she stole like $29 million from the city, and she had like 100 horses. So I bring up horses because there's a significant amount of value in well, specifically horses, but in
Right.
livestock. So that alpaca farming is another thing where you get a tax break for alpacas, and um,
Really?
it's a kind of a strange aside, but I
Huh.
mean, I, I've heard, I have not looked into this, but Bon Jovi gets this huge tax break because he has a farm in New Jersey, and so he gets a
Okay.
big tax break because he has farm animals.
Alpacas? Oh, wow.
I don't know if it's specific. He has
Oh,
alpacas, but he has a farm that he gets a big tax break for. You wouldn't think this like mega rock star is
yeah.
really working on tax breaks, owning a farm. But those are things that need to be listed out because they
Okay.
are assets that are attributable to division of assets during a divorce or a separation.
And you mentioned QuickBooks. Now, is there somewhere like where someone can like hide something in QuickBooks or delete a transaction? And then,
Yeah. So the cool thing about QuickBooks is it keeps track of everything.
okay.
If somebody logs in and does something, it says Mark wrote a check and printed the check for $500,
Yeah.
right? On whatever date. And if I go in like after the check is cashed and cleared the bank and reconciled and I change it from 500 to 5,000, right?
Right.
I could do that, right? And it's going to say, "Hey, this transaction has already been reconciled. Are you sure you want to do this?"
Okay.
I could just say yes,
Yeah.
right? So what does that do? It increases my expenses and lowers my net income. And if I
Right.
do that enough, it becomes a material amount, and that's where how you can turn a company that should otherwise have, $200,000 of income that would go to the family, right? That would be family income. You can turn that into $100,000 by
Okay.
manipulating the transactions. And
Yeah.
so QuickBooks tracks any changes that are in there. So I can go in and pull a transaction report and a transaction change report and see who made the change, when they made the change, what it originally was, and what did they change it to. And
Okay.
that, my friends, is what you call fraud.
Ooh,
So yeah,
fraud.
that is fraud.
Yeah.
So like for real fraud. So that's when yeah, you got to go find that stuff. So yeah.
So, so you would tell an attorney, when the attorney does their interrogatories and requests for production of documents, because obviously we have to request more than just a QuickBook file, right?
Yeah, the so the trick with QuickBooks is that like it's everything in the business,
Oh,
right? And
right.
people hold that like sacred, right? And if I give you this information, I'm, giving you keys to the castle.
Yeah.
So what they want to do is they want to, print out and export to PDF a couple
Right.
of reports. And I mean, I'm sure having a PDF is gives you some information, but unless I tell you what I want printed out, you're just going to give me kind of a few standard reports like a general ledger and an
Right.
income statement and a balance sheet. I, I'm not going to be able to find stuff, just find changes in transactions like I just explained with the $5,000 change. Uh,
Uh-huh.
you're just not going to see that in a balance sheet or an income statement. What you have to really go in and look at the transaction detail. So QuickBooks has a couple of features. Really, a backup copy is best because it's just a copy as a specific date.
Mm,
And
okay.
the end user, it doesn't affect their working, right? They can still work and they can still do whatever they're doing, reconcile accounts. There's another thing called the accountant's copy, but
Oh,
it's accountant's copy is good. What it does is it freezes QuickBooks as of a certain date. So you
okay.
can go ahead and do new things. You can write new checks and write new invoices and do new payroll, but you can't change any history until your accountant does whatever they're doing. And then they upload the accountant's copy back into the working copy, and the bank rec is now done. And
Okay.
say certain things like you, the business owner, have a cell phone, and you pay your cell phone, but you want the business to reimburse you
Right.
$100 a month for cell phone, right? But you're not going to do that in cash. You're going to do that in equity, right? So you're not actually getting extra cash. So there's an entry that needs to be made into QuickBooks that the bookkeeper will do, the accountant will do in the accountant's copy, and when they upload it, now it loads any changes or any reconciliation differences, and reconciliation differences are pretty important, right? Slip of the fingers, the 6 and the 9 are right in front of each other. So if somebody writes you a check for $169 and it was supposed and you billed them for $196, you have a difference there. Accountant can fix that, right?
Okay.
So do you want to go after that little slip of the finger, or if it's too many point this way of the decimal point, yeah, you're going to go get it. But if you're talking about $9, I mean, right? So the accountant's copy, really, nobody's going to give you that because it
Oh,
freezes
wow. Okay.
history. You really want the backup. The
You want the
backup,
backup copy.
yeah,
Okay.
the backup copy is still everything. Um, and you got people like me can load it into our QuickBooks. I create a new instance just for the
Okay.
new company,
Okay.
and I would be able to see everything that's going on.
Okay. So then get you the backup copy. And so you just don't have like just these PDF reports, which really don't tell
Yeah.
you much of anything. They
Well,
just give you a
they,
snapshot of the.
yeah, they really just make you have to ask more questions,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So, like, you give me the general ledger as a
Okay.
PDF, and that's 300 pages of line and line and line and line and
Yeah.
line. And number one, now I have to charge you to and
Uh,
my hourly rate to go look through 300
ugh,
pages worth of things. And I may not find anything, but
yeah.
I might find journal entry, 37, journal entry
Wow.
number 37, that changes $70,000 at on
Wow.
December 31st.
Okay.
Well, what is $70,000 on December 31st, right? So
Yeah. What happened?
it could be like when I was a controller, I was like, oh, hey, we're just going to move this $70,000 from this one account to this other account, right? It should have been in the other account to begin with. So it's just a normal correction,
Okay.
but it could be you're taking payroll out of payroll and putting it into commissions because, um, you paid people cash under the table, right? So, and
Oh.
that is something that you would want to see and that should be plainly evidenced in QuickBooks as you're going through, and they have to answer for that sort of thing. So
So forensic accounting can determine, because I hear that a lot of time, right? My husband runs a construction company. He gets paid cash under the table. So a forensic
yeah,
accountant could look at what you look at the bank statements or the to determine
well,
the
that's
cash paid.
tricky. Yeah, so that's number one where the lifestyle analysis comes in
Okay.
because if they're getting a lot of cash, you're not going to see that come into the bank, right? However, most banks, if you ask the bank, you get a transaction report, not a bank statement.
Oh,
And if you go to the bank, they can say anytime someone goes to the teller, there
yeah.
will be a transaction on their account. So, for
Okay.
instance, very good example. For instance,
Okay.
uh, run a construction company, or actually, it doesn't have to be construct any kind of business, and you have $10,000 in your business bank account. You have $10,000 in there. Customer paid you a $3,000 check made out to the business.
Yeah.
You can go in and just cash the check, right? You don't have to deposit it. You can just cash the check, and
Right.
now you have $3,000.
Right.
Your bank statement is not going to see that at all because
Right.
you didn't deposit it. But the
Right.
bank has a transaction report that says that on, I don't know, what's today, June 11th at 2:23, there was a transaction at a teller where you cashed a check and the check was
Wow.
$3,000. And now I know
Wow.
that there's $3,000 floating around that's essentially unaccounted for. So
Holy
that's
smokes.
yeah, that's actually a good way. Again, limited by the person's imagination. Eh, You can find it. You just have to pull on the strings and figure out where the puzzle pieces are.
The bank transaction report, does it what about like withdrawals that people make or deposits from the ATM? No?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'll show up, right? If you do
Okay.
any deposits or withdrawals or write a check or anything like that, that's going to be on your bank statement.
Oh, okay.
Cashing a check, um, it, the tricky part is, it's not the
Mhm.
tricky part. The caveat is, if you have $1,000 in your account and you want to cash a $3,000 check, they're
Yeah.
going to deposit the check first, right?
Oh, okay.
Because the bank wants to make sure that you have cash to cover that check, right? So
Okay.
sometimes they won't even let you cash the check. They'll want to deposit it, and they put a hold on it for like 3 days or whatever before it clears
Right.
and that sort of thing.
Right.
But if you have cash in excess of the
Yeah.
amount of the check, they'll just cash the check for you, and
Yeah.
you'll just never see that on a bank statement.
So interesting.
Yeah.
Right
Well,
there.
it's a way to hide money, and if you are trying to go find all the hidden money, that's where guys like people like me come in place.
Yeah, and that's why they need to hire you to get that not only the
Yeah.
bank statements, but the bank transaction reports.
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Mark, for coming on and being a guest today. Very, very illuminating, very helpful. And so if people want to work with you, how do they get a hold of you?
Yeah, so I have a website, red3cpa.com, and it's red three, like with a hyphen between the red and the three. And my email is mark.martinez at red3cpa.com. I'm also have, like most everybody else, a good cell phone. So my cell number is 425-492-0751. I currently am taking new clients right now, and my my niche here is to work with family lawyers, whether it's a divorce or an estate or an elder case. I've done several elder fraud cases where trying to figure out where parents' money goes. Uh,
Yeah.
and then I'm also I'm on LinkedIn as well. So
Okay, and we'll be sure to have your and then when you said your email address, that hyphen goes in the email address as well?
yeah, yeah, my email is red-3, right? Red three. So I was in the Marines, right? And so my
Yeah.
call sign was red 3. So
Okay.
when I drove my tank here, that was my call sign, and I actually had to answer to the Washington Board of Accountancy why my name isn't like Mark or Martinez or MM or something like that, isn't in my firm name. And I'm like, it was my call sign in the Marines, and that was sufficient for them. And I don't know, I just thought it's cool. So
Yeah, that is cool. I like that. I mean, it's nice to have that, that tie-in with your service.
yeah, yeah, it's a big part of my life. So it's always nice.
And before we sign off, and I will make sure to have folks will make sure to include Mark's contact information as well in our podcast description when this goes live. But Mark, before you sign off, what's some fun fact about yourself that no one would know just from looking at you?
Well, fun fact, I am highly involved in Scouting America. I sit on the board
Oh,
of the Chief Seattle Council, BSA, and I'm the district executive for my territory.
wow.
So my area that I'm 100% volunteer,
Okay.
but my territory is essentially we'll say, from Renton to Auburn, and from I-5 to the top of the pass.
Okay.
So a huge area, lot of troops, lot of packs, a lot of crews, and Scouting America has is changed a lot over the time. It used to be Boy Scouts of America,
Oh,
um,
okay. Yeah.
and now it's Scouting America. Uh, Pretty much every unit that I know about is has troops that accept units that accept both boys and girls, and we have set up patrols that is a girl patrol and a patrol that is boy patrol. So it's not they go and do things together, but on the small unit level, they're we keep them separate. Uh,
Okay.
but it's building character for the next generation of Americans is really kind of the whole with through the Scout Oath and Scout Law. It's really the mission of Scouts, and watching some 12-year-old girl on a camping trip who just comes up to you and says, "Mr. Martinez, I want to learn how to build a fire," and sitting down with a at the fire pit and watching her build a fire and start a fire with one match,
One
and then
match.
her excitement is like, it's amazing. It's just, I mean,
Yeah.
really right there in the heart. It's cool to watch people, specifically kids, learn new things and then succeed at those things. So
That's so important. Like, I don't know how to build a fire, but that's so
yeah,
important for a young girl's confidence too. Just anyone's confidence
yeah, yeah,
to do those types of things.
and it's tricky because when you're like me and you're 50, and you have this wealth of experience. At a certain point of time, I didn't have the experience to learn to light a fire, and fire is dangerous, and your parents always yell at you, you'll burn the house down and all that sort of stuff. So
All
they would
right.
let you play with matches. And now here we are giving, 12-year-old kids, teaching them how to light a fire and how to properly use a pocket knife, and how
Oh,
to make how to make a mac and cheese on a stove, right? It's a
yeah.
lot of self-sufficiency. So really, it's really cool to see kids succeed at stuff like that. Build, like you said, build their confidence and succeed at something cool like that.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for being of
Absolutely.
service to our community, Mark. And again, it was such a pleasure to have you on today on the Akiona Law podcast.
Yeah, thank you. It's
And
been my pleasure.
and so again, if anyone wants to work with Mark, you can contact him at his firm is called Red-3 CPA and Forensic Accounting. And so, for all of my guests out there, thank you again for joining us on another episode of the Akiona Law podcast, wherein we talk about anything and everything that intersects in the world of family law and divorce. I am Lani Akiona. Until the next time, be well. The information in this podcast is general advice only and should not in any respect be relied on as specific legal advice.